All right, so this is topic 1, lesson 1 in life science, pages 4 through 15. So make sure you're going to page 4 in your book. Once you're in your book, please keep in mind, I expect you to take notes on this. Remember, this is a recording, so you can pause, stop, come back to it, rewatch it, whatever you need to do to keep up on notes or to review a certain topic. All right. I am going to try to keep all my Screencast-O-Matic recordings to 15 minutes or less. Sometimes they might be less than 10 minutes. Okay. It's all going to depend on the information. So today we're going to try to get through about 10 slides. And let's see how we do on that. So again, this is Life Science Topic 1, Lesson 1, pages 4 through 15. So hopefully you're in your book by now. All right. So, characteristics of living things. So the first thing you need to know is, what is an organism? So think about that for just a second. An organism is any living thing. Very important. Very important to understand that. Organism is any living thing. Characteristics of living things. What are the 4 characteristics that all organisms share? So, what are the 4 things that all living things share? All organisms are made of cells. All organisms are made of cells. All organisms contain similar chemicals and use energy. All organisms respond to their surroundings. All organisms grow, develop, and reproduce. So those are the 4 characteristics that all organisms share. If you remember on the video, there were 7. Well, the last one right here, they're all kind of related. Okay, so this is a couple combined. Okay. Very important. This is the main concept of this lesson. So please make sure you know this. Cellular organization. All living things are made of smaller living units called cells. What are cells? Cells are the basic unit of structure and function in living things. So this is basically the definition of what a cell is. The basic unit of structure and function in living things. In a unicellular or single-celled organism, one cell carries out the functions necessary to stay alive. All right, so we're talking about just a one-celled organism. Obviously, we are not one-celled. What about a multicellular or many cells organism? Cells are specialized to do certain tasks. Okay, so you have cheek cells, you have stomach cells, you have skin cells. So each one of those has a specific job to do, okay, because we have more than one cell. All cells work together to keep the organism alive. All cells work together to keep the organism alive. So it's kind of like a team, okay? Everybody's got to work together to make it work. If something's not working, then it affects the whole organism. The chemicals of life. All substances are made of chemicals. What is the most common chemical in cells? Water. Water is the most chemical, or the most common chemical in cells. Now, this is review. What is water made of? Anybody know? Well, water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen. Chemicals of life. Other chemicals. Carbohydrates provide the cell with energy. So think about what you eat as far as a carbohydrate. If you don't know what carbohydrates or what contains carbohydrates, we're talking about bread contains carbohydrates, pasta. Those are the two main things I can think of right now that can contain carbohydrates. Proteins and lipids, these are used in building cells. Of course, proteins are in the meat you eat. All right. Nucleic acids, these provide chemical instructions. And DNA directs the actions in every cell of your body. And if you don't know, it is deoxyribonucleic acid. That's what DNA stands for. That's why we say DNA instead of the word. Growth and development. All living things grow and develop. All multicellular organisms make new cells to become bigger or replace cells that have died. So we are constantly losing skin cells, and they're being replaced with new cells. Response to surroundings. What is a stimulus? Think about that for a minute. See if you can come up with something. A stimulus is any change or signal in the environment that can make an organism react in some way. So if I was to clap, that probably scared you a little bit, okay? That's a stimulus that made you react a certain way. So can you give me some examples of stimuli? An example to me would be when the school bell rings in between classes. That tells you it's time to get up and move. That's a stimulus, okay? That's probably the one you're best associated with, all right? If your cell phone rings, you might have a certain ringtone for a certain person. That's a stimulus. Changes in light, sound, flavors, and odors. These are all examples of stimuli. Response to surroundings again. What does an organism react to a stimulus with? There's a specific term for that, and it's called a response. A response is an action or a change in behavior. A response is an action or change in behavior. And we are going to stop there. We're about halfway through notes.